I swear, watching Derrick Henry rush all over the Cowboys defense today was about as predictable as the folks over at NBC deciding to bring on Ludacris into their pregame show for tonight's Sunday night football game. North America, I am going to give you my quick recap of what went down in your National Football League on Sunday. It is my week 3 reaction. So some quick reactions and we'll get into some things with a little bit more detail. Oh my God, a rookie quarterback actually finally threw a touchdown. Actually, Caleb ended up throwing 2 touchdowns today. He also threw 2 picks in the Chicago Bears loss to the Indianapolis Colts on the road. Hey, I don't know if you saw it, but Daniel Jones actually played pretty good today. Deshaun Watson on the other side of the fence still looks like a shell of his former self. The Vikings defense played extremely good. The strategy that Brian Flores ultimately ran for the Vikings defense absolutely worked. This just in, Larry Tunsil was just called for illegal movement before he actually walked on the plane flight back to Houston tonight. Tunsil, who got called for moving early at least 7 times today in the game against the Vikings. Oh, by the way, Sam Darnold did throw 4 touchdown passes, though he got banged up and there'll be an MRI on his knee tomorrow. And finally, the real Derek Carr actually did show up today, North America. He had happy feet at the end of the game, which ultimately led to an interception and ultimately the Saints' home loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. If you have a chance, you should definitely check out the Nick Sirianni in the locker room post-game speech. I have to say, I came away from watching that less motivated to be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Anyways, Saquon Barkley actually did rush for over 140 yards in the win. Okay, so those are some of the big things that went down in the National Football League on Sunday for week number 3. Now, a couple other things I want to point out. Dak Prescott actually played pretty well today in the Cowboys loss. He ended up throwing for over 370 yards in that particular loss. Andy Dalton absolutely proved that he could still be a starting quarterback in the National Football League on a bad team when it plays another bad team. Andy actually threw 3 touchdowns and had no picks. He had very little pressure on him in that particular game. Brock Purdy actually looked pretty good for the most part without the Avengers actually there to help him. Yeah, at times it looked like he was starring in one of those second-rate Marvel spin-off shows on the Disney Plus, and certainly looked like he could have used some more help. He had a couple wide receivers just absolutely let him down on in today's game. Of course, Juwan Jennings wasn't one of them. He actually had 3 touchdowns. He caught basically everything that was thrown at him. I don't know how the 49ers still have Bell on their roster. He dropped some key passes in their loss in Los Angeles, which, by the way, was a come-from-behind victory for the Los Angeles Rams in that one. Jonathan Taylor had 110 yards on the ground, and David Montgomery for the Detroit Lions had 105 in that particular game. Some quick thoughts on the Lions victory today in Arizona. Now, there was a lot of money moving towards the Arizona Cardinals in the last couple of days. A lot of people actually thought that the Arizona Cardinals had turned a corner. We also, I think, sort of forgot just how gritty that the Detroit Lions can actually be as an organization with Dan Campbell as their head coach. They certainly figured out how to slow down Kyler Murray just enough in today's game. One of the best hook and ladder plays I've ever seen was played was done by the Detroit Lions in their victory. Look, they only scored 20 points. They gave up 13. It was actually a very good game, and it could have gone either way. In this particular case, congrats to the gritty Lions for that particular victory in the game that nobody watched, unless you are actually fans of the Miami Dolphins or the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks ended up winning 24-3. Look, it was 17-3 before anybody knew what happened, and the Miami Dolphins had nothing in their tank to actually help get them back into the game. The Broncos actually went on the road, surprised me as well as most of North America, as they ended up winning. Oh, good news. Bo Nix only was asked to throw the ball 36 times today, Sean Payton. Did you forget he's a rookie quarterback? Sure, I know he played in college football for like 10 years, Sean Payton, but still, 25 for 36, 26 touchdown, or 26, 216 yards in the air. He rushed for 1 touchdown, still has not thrown an actual touchdown in a regular season National Football League game. Do not know. Todd Bowles sometimes is just horrible as a head coach in the National Football League. Today was one of those days where Sean Payton just flat out coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneer organization as a whole. Steelers at home, not terribly surprised. 20-10. Justin Fields looked good enough once again. 25 for 32, 245. And didn't really make any big mistakes in this particular game. He had 1 interception in the game, but he had a quarterback rating of 96, which if you are a Pittsburgh Steelers fan living in, if you will, the post, if you're living in the post Ben Roethlisberger era, and that's what your quarterback gives you, you absolutely should be pretty happy with what he actually delivered for you today. All right, that is my quick recap of what went down in Sunday's game in the National Football League. Just a couple quick points that I do want to recap. 1, the benching of Bryce Young was absolutely the right move. The Ravens picked on the Cowboys' inability to stop the run, which was clear. The Ravens actually had like 270 yards rushing in today's game, and 151 of those actually went to Derrick Henry. Finally, I did say this, and I have come down hard on Brian Daboll and the New York Giants a lot over the past couple weeks, and I thought on the road they actually did a really good job. So kudos to Brian Daboll, as well as to Daniel Jones for playing a very good game of football today. If I'm wrong, I admit it. All right, North America, that is it for today's Underrated Pod. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go and subscribe, and of course, like this video. And if you have any thoughts, of course, go ahead and drop those in for the Underrated Pod. I am Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day. To the cool new music we go.
This is Phoenix.